Time now to take you through the morning's papers, and here with me to review them today are the broadcaster and journalist Afia Hagan and former editor of the Daily Star, Dawn Neeson. So very good morning to both of you. Lovely to see you both this morning. Lots of different things around on the front pages this morning, but we're going to kick off, Afia, with the Times, aren't we? And in fact, a couple of the papers are going with this, and this is Rishi Sunak's tour of Northern Ireland and Europe, trying to get agreement over changes to the trading arrangements with Northern Ireland. So what's the Times' take on this?
Yeah, so Rishi Sunak's surprise visit to Northern Ireland this week, and it's the biggest test of his premiership, the Times are writing, as he prepares to push ahead with this new Brexit deal. And you have got lots of reservations amongst Eurosceptic Tory MPs. Now, he's going to be talking with Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission, later on or into this weekend as well. And there is some scepticism around the deal that he's trying to do. There's talks that it could be done this weekend and trying to be ratified in Parliament next week. Now, like I said, there's lots of Tory skeptic MPs that might not back any deal that he's going for, and that would be with the DUP and Sinn Féin, of course, as well in Northern Ireland. We need their agreement to get this deal through. And the European Research Group, the ERG, they harbour significant reservations about the deal that he's trying to push through, but it is thought that the Labour Party under Keir Starmer would support any deal that he has. So it could be that Rishi Sunak gets this deal through with the support of the Labour Party rather than Tory MPs, which they wouldn't like at all. And some Tory MPs are hoping for an intervention from Boris Johnson, who still seems to be very much lurking in the background, but still having a significant impact on the decisions of the Tory party. But what Rishi Sunak wants is to be the one that gets Brexit done. This is kind of his first main way onto the international stage. You know, he's trying to show that he is that safe pair of hands that the United Kingdom needs, and that he does have the gravitas, unlike his predecessors Liz Truss and Boris Johnson, to get this deal done. It would be a real notch on his belt if he could. So he will certainly be pushing for that, or has been pushing for that over this weekend and into next week, and possibly into Parliament on Tuesday.
Well, that's right. And Dawn, if we look at The Guardian, they're also leading with this story as well, aren't they? And as Afia was saying, the Guardian is nodding to the fact that he's not only got to convince the DUP, who last night said there was still more work to do on this deal in Northern Ireland, but also some of his own backbenchers.
Very much so, as Afia has just said. This is a typical Guardian story, that they love actually getting the words Tory rebellion crisis in the first paragraph of the story, which they've done very well here. And this is PM faces Tory rebellion on the Northern Ireland Protocol. And as we've just discussed, it's a European research group who have reservations about any potential deal, although it has to be said that no one's actually seen the final text of what is being proposed yet. It is being supposedly put before Parliament on Tuesday, which is when we will all know the final details. But even the DUP don't know the final text yet. Now, it was very reassuring when they gave their statement yesterday after their meeting with Rishi in the hotel in Ireland, in Northern Ireland, saying that it was progress. They were actually quite positive about the discussions that they had had. So I think I think the one thing we all want is to stop talking about Brexit. We have been doing it now since 2016. So I think as Afia just said, it's like we actually want some resolution, no matter what side of the fence you're on this one. If Rishi can get Brexit done, and I hate that phrase, then it will be a huge notch in his belt, and we can all just stop talking about it.
We will stop talking about it now, actually, because we're going to move on to other subjects. But I'm pretty sure we're going to return to it at some point. Sorry about that, Dawn, but I'm pretty sure we can't draw a line under that just yet. Let's move on, Afia, shall we, to the front page of The Eye. And this is a story that both The Eye and actually The Times have been pushing a lot recently, and this is the state of our waterways in this country. And what's The Eye's take this morning?
Yes, we've seen quite a lot of horrible stories actually about the pollution of our rivers up and down the country. So that I have this exclusive story this morning where they are talking about people wanting the people who rule and the water bosses to face criminal prosecution because of the state of our rivers. So currently, companies themselves can be held liable for pollution, but individual executive of those companies rarely are. So they asked people in a poll if bosses should be prosecuted if their firms have contributed to river pollution, and 72% of those people asked supported that idea, with only 5% of people saying that they didn't support that idea. And the poll also found that 45% of the public were dissatisfied with the current condition of British waterways, with only 16% of those asked saying that they are satisfied. So a majority of people, are pretty worried about the pollution that we are seeing in our rivers up and down the country. And like I said, it's very difficult for individual executives themselves of these waterways to be prosecuted, and it's very difficult actually for the companies themselves to be prosecuted. So what people want is more to be done to make sure that companies and executives are held accountable for the state of our waterways, and that's our drinking water and the water we use for leisure and other activities. And it is showing that people are very, very concerned about the pollution of our waterways up and down the country, and support the idea 72% of companies and bosses being prosecuted for dirty rivers.
Yeah, it's definitely, as that survey suggests, something that people are getting more and more concerned about, isn't it? So it's interesting to see whether anything does change as regards, whether the government moves to change anything, for example. Let's move on, shall we, now, Dawn, to the front page of the Daily Mail. Their headline is "NHS doctors told don't assume the gender of any patient."
Before we mention that, Anna, there is just a quick Brexit link to the story.
I thought you didn't want to talk about Brexit, Dawn.
I know. I'm just going to mention this. So, the 4,000 EU Brexit rules that are going to be supposedly torched, 2 of them involve our waterways, and they're the ones we're all concerned about. We need clean water. Any case, the Daily Mail.
Go on with the Daily Mail. Yeah.
Right. Okay, this is a new guideline that the NHS have published, which is ordering, basically telling NHS staff to treat all patients as gender neutral. Don't assume anyone's gender, even if they are a regular patient of yours and you only saw them a couple of months ago, because they might have changed their gender since. Now, Health Secretary Steve Barclay has ordered an urgent investigation into this, because as we all know, with 8 million people on waiting lists, and obviously nurses quite rightly on strike for higher pay, the last thing we need to be wasting time and money on is I hate this word as well, Anna, but wokery. I mean, I don't know how much this has cost. We're still trying to find out. It's a 16-page document which is saying, asking someone who's assigned female at birth, are you Miss, Ms. or Mrs., carries with it an assumption their gender identity matches the sex. Where it's like, oh, please. But if someone is there giving birth or having cancer treatment, the last thing anyone's going to be worried about is what their gender and what their pronouns are. On a serious note, if you actually are going down this road of the whole gender identity thing, does it mean you could end up being put on a supposedly single-sex ward because you are identifying as a different sex? And I've just been working on a piece from Magazine, Anna, about female swimmers in America and the traumas they face, and sharing changing rooms with male identifying as female swimmers who are fully male still, and it's pretty harrowing stuff. So there is a serious side to this, but yes, it's more NHS wokery.
Well, yeah, and then the other people will say it's really important that someone, if they have changed their gender, that's respected and they're called by the appropriate pronouns, because they will feel very offended if they aren't as well.
I totally get that, but I think it's more important that we get through the 8 million waiting list on the NHS.
OK, let's move on, shall we, to what are we talking about next? The Mirror front page. And this is the butler of Princess Diana. They've done an interview, have they? This is Paul Burrell, isn't it? Has he done an interview with the Mirror? What's the story here? Talk us through it, Afia.
Yes, so this is the Mirror Splash by Russell Myers today, and this is Paul Burrell. He's talking ahead of prostate cancer surgery that he's currently waiting for, and he's saying that he has some things that he would like to tell Princess Diana's sons, that of course is Prince Harry and Prince William. So he was once referred by Princess Diana as her rock, and he's terrified that he might have to take certain secrets to the grave with him and will never get the chance to tell Princess Harry and Princess William some things that Princess Diana has imparted to him. And he says, I know that some of it isn't pretty, but if I leave this place and go somewhere else, they'll never know, and I think they should know. Now, as I said, he is waiting for prostate cancer surgery. He revealed his diagnosis a few weeks ago. And he also says that what he has to tell what he has to tell Prince William and Prince Harry could bring the brothers back together. We know that the relationship between the two of them is at an all-time low at the moment. Much speculation over whether Prince Harry will attend King Charles III's upcoming coronation. But yes, Paul Burrell is saying that what he could have to say to the two princes could heal that rift and could bring them back together.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. And sadly, Dawn, we can't get on to Attack of the Psycho Chatbot, which was on the front of the Star. But you are going to be back in the hours ahead. So for the moment, both of you, good to see you, and we'll catch up with you in the next hour. Thanks very much. Top stories next.